Hey guys, welcome to today's video where I am going to be talking about the books that I am excited about that are being released from the beginning of October till the end of December. Now I'm a little bit late on this video. A few of these books have already been released, but whatever. I'm going to go with it. I have pulled up such a good list for October and November, and like December there's one book. So we're going to go in order of release date. A variety of genres. We got everything from middle grade to YA to adult to free verse, historical fiction, sci-fi, a little bit of everything I feel like. I mean, a little bit of all the different genres I like to read anyway. But first, I wanted to show that my samples, the rest of them came in. So this is my The Books Are Calling and I Must Go shirt. That is available in my Etsy shop from now till the beginning of January, where from there I will be closing it for either a period or forever. I haven't decided yet. And then I also have this Fox Books tote that I ordered that I am going to be giving to somebody that I know that I don't want to say in case they watch my videos. I don't think they do. But yeah, this is a cute little tote. This one obviously is inspired by You've Got Mail, obviously, because I feel like you've probably watched the movie, but if not, definitely do so. I also have like this in a shirt, which I've worn pretty much non-stop for the last like month and a half since I got it. And then yeah, I got this shirt, and then I did get another one. My other design is Adventuring is Opening a Book, and I got that one in maroon, so I'm sure I'll be wearing that in the next little while. So if you want to order a book shirt for yourself or somebody for Christmas, do that ASAP so that they have time to print them and get them out to you before Christmas. Okay, now on to the books. We're going to start with one that has already arrived at my door. So you know this is a little bit late for the list. This is The Lost Melody by Joanna Davidson Politano. Yeah, so I still have not read the back of this book. I would really like to get to it this month, but my reading has been fairly slow. Like I'm reading, I feel like every day and for a decent amount of time, but it's taking me forever to get through books. But that's okay. I'm enjoying it, so I'm just going to go with it. I would like to get to this book this month. So it is, I believe, set in the Victorian era. I can't see a date on here at all. But so far that's what all of her books, when they've been set. And I know it has to do something with an asylum. So I don't know. I think maybe in the beginning here it says the date 1886, and it starts out at Hurstwell Asylum. And there's something about melody. I know if I watched her book trailer for it on Instagram, and it was like such a good like haunting kind of creepy feel to it, so I'm excited to read this one for sure. Obviously I'm excited to read them all. That's why they're on my anticipated releases list, but I'm gonna say that anyway. Okay, now we will go on to the list. A lot of these I found via Goodreads. People often ask me how I find book releases, what's coming out, and I actually wrote a blog post about it a month or two ago. I'll leave that linked in my description because there's a few other ways that I find out, but a really good way is just to go into Goodreads. Then if you go to books, I think it is, and then coming soon, it will show you books that are being released by authors that you have shelved their books before. Either you've read them or you want to read them. That's a good way to go about it. So that is where I found out about most of these. The next one I have here is called A Rover's Story. So this is a middle grade science fiction story. I believe it's set on Mars, and it's by the author of Other Words from Home. I enjoyed that book. I think I gave it like 4 stars. But I'm very curious. I'm kind of really into science fiction, and middle grade science fiction, if done well, I've been enjoying. So I'm definitely going to request this one from the library. Actually, that's my plan after this, is to go onto my library website and request all the ones they already have in the system that I haven't already pre-ordered, because I have a few pre-ordered. Next up is another middle grade, but this one is middle grade mystery. It is book 4. There's always loud vehicles when I'm filming. In the Myrtle Hardcastle series, so it is a middle grade mystery series. This one's called In Myrtle Peril, and we are set, I think it's late 1800s, early 1900s, and Myrtle is a 12-ish-year-old girl who keeps stumbling across a bunch of mysteries. If you have liked the Aggie Morton series, I feel like they're very similar, and the books, they're releasing books at the same time. That just reminded me, I thought there was an Aggie Morton coming out Now I need to look this up. We'll pause while I quickly look into this. So there is an Aggie Morton, but this didn't show up in my research before, so we will talk about that one when we get to it, I guess. So in Myrtle Peril, one of the things I really like, wow, I think this is the same vehicle just constantly driving by. What I really like is the footnotes in the Myrtle series, and the audiobooks are done really well. That's pretty much how I've read them. I think I've listened to all three. And then we've got on the 4th as well, there's a bunch of books that just came out on October 4th. This one is Concrete Evidence by Diane Mills. Now I've read one of her books and I keep meaning to read another one. She is in the Christian suspense genre. The one that I read wasn't heavy on like the romantic suspense part. I think it's probably categorized as that, but I have heard that some of hers are maybe more typical Christian romantic suspense, but I did enjoy the one that I read. It was like a year or two ago. So I keep meaning to read another one of hers, and I didn't read the synopsis because I like to go into books blind. So I'm going to get this one from the library and hopefully read it. And then the last book that I have that was October 4th is called Garvey in the Dark, and this is a middle grade free verse novel. I'm a sucker for a good free verse novel, especially middle grade. I mean, there's middle grade and there's YA. Is there adult free verse novels? I actually can't think of any that I've read. But I have read a free verse novel by this author before and enjoyed it, so I'm curious about this one. Garvey in the Dark has to do with COVID, I think. So I think it was an interesting topic to write a free verse novel on. Then, coming up on the 11th, which is actually the day this video is going live, is The Premonition at Wither's Farm, which is by Jamie Jo Wright. So we've got dual timeline, creepy elements. She definitely has like the classic gothic horror vibes in her books. Just that like slightly eerie, well, I guess it depends on the person. I did buy one of her books for one of my friends, and she said it was the scariest book she'd ever read. So I guess maybe we have different thoughts on what is scary. To me, they just have like, her books have like a creepy vibe, but not like you're terrified. But I guess some people do think so. And I have very purposefully not read anything about this book. I have it pre-ordered. Hopefully it's coming to my door this week. Sometimes in Canada, or I don't know if it's just Canada or if it's just me. Sometimes my pre-orders take a little while. Although this one came in the day after I think it was released, so that's impressive. Yeah, so I'm going into it blind, but I have loved all of hers except one that I was like not a huge fan of the one timeline of, but I have read, like, she's almost one of my most well-read authors. Like, I've read quite a few of her, well, I mean, I've read all of her books, but she's written quite a few. Oh my goodness. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Okay, let's move on to the 18th. I had no idea this book was coming out. Does that mean it's terrible? I don't know. It's called Poster Girl, and it is a YA dystopian by the author of The Hunger Games. I don't know if she's been writing books since The Hunger Games or not, but I'm very curious. I really enjoyed The Hunger Games, watched the movie first, but then read the book and realized like there's so much more going on in the book. Like, you have the inner dialogue from the characters, and I really enjoyed that. The rest of the series I didn't love as much as the first book, but now I'm curious, is this going to be like that level or not? So definitely going to check that one out. Then the last book for October is coming out on the 25th. It's called A Seed in the Sun. This is a middle grade free verse novel by an author who I read another one of her free verse novels, I think earlier this year or last year. I didn't love that book, but I didn't hate it. I'm willing to try another one by her. I think it was a female author. So I don't really know what the topic's about, but I'm gonna try it out. Actually, I think it had to do with immigration or refugees or something to that extent. Now moving on to November. On the 1st, we are coming out with Keeper of Enchanted Rooms. So this is by an author that I have read some books from, and I kind of like don't really know where I sit on her books. I'm trying to think, did I read them while I was on BookTube? I think so, but I haven't talked about them a ton because the one that she's coming out with is historical fiction fantasy, and it was also tagged with paranormal. So we'll see. The reason her other ones had to do with magic, and I'm totally okay with reading books about magic, but there was just some things that didn't really sit super well with those ones. So I'm curious to try another one by her, but feel like it could go either way. Okay, and then also on November 1st is the next Aggie Morton. It is called Aggie Morton, Mystery Queen, The Seaside Corpse. Like, never go on vacation with Aggie Morton. Bodies everywhere. It has a super cute cover. I love the illustrations. I'm so glad they've been able to keep the same illustrator so far throughout the entire series because they're just adorable. Yeah, so I'm assuming Aggie Morton goes on a seaside trip and finds a dead body. Thoroughly enjoying that entire series. Okay, then on the 2nd, normally I feel like books come out on the every Tuesday, but there's some coming out November 1st and 2nd, so that's strange. Usually it's just every Tuesday of the month. First one here that I have written down is called Sanctuary Highway. So this one is by Ellen Hopkins, and I just hauled 2 of her books in my book haul. 2 free verse novels. They were like middle grade, maybe YA. I haven't read one, not read the other. But the one that Sanctuary Highway is a YA science fiction. And I don't think it's free verse, so I've only read free verse books by her. But I'm very curious. I like it when authors that I have enjoyed books by come out with new ones, because then I can, especially in a different genre, try it out. Hopefully it's as good as the other ones. Also on the 2nd is Twice Sold Tales. Now, this is the first book in, what's the series called? Bookstrings series by Shatona Havig, and I've been following her on Instagram, and I knew this was coming, and I can't believe that it's already almost November. She has really witty characters, and so often in her books anyway, and so now we are going witty characters, I'm assuming, in like, oh, I think it takes place in a bookshop. So yeah, I'm there for that for sure. Definitely going to be reading that one. Then we are going on to November 8th. One of the books coming out is Stellar Loon, which is book 9 in the Keeper of the Lost City series. I have pre-ordered the audiobook for this one actually. We have all loved the audio books in this series. Every single person in my family has listened to them. Me and the kids were talking about it so much that eventually my husband was like, I have to read this series because you guys are constantly talking about it. I need to know like the in little jokes you guys are having. And the audiobook narrator is the best audiobook narrator I have ever listened to. So there's some high praise. She is so good at her voices, and yeah, and it's not overdone. I don't know, I really like it. So we will buy the physical copy yet as well, but if I was going to be pre-ordering, I knew it had to be the audiobook. And we already, because we all use the same Audible account, we're already going like, okay, who's listening to it in what order? We have to figure it out so we can all listen to it. Okay, and then also on the 8th is Gleanings. This is Stories from the Ark of a Scythe. So the Ark of the Scythe, oh wait, it's a trilogy, but this one is book 3.5. So I don't know if these are stories that happen after the series or why it's labeled 3.5. If it's a trilogy, can you have a 3.5? Yeah, I enjoyed the first book, the Scythe book. Didn't really enjoy where they went with the rest of the series, but I'm curious about the short stories. They are written by different authors, so I don't know, that might be good, that might not be. We will see. And then moving on to November 15th, Sanderson is coming out with The Lost Metal, which I believe is the final book in the Mistborn Era 2 series. I still haven't started that series. That's my like Sanderson for the winter, my plan anyway, to start the series and hopefully finish it. Yeah, I enjoyed Era 1, but I hear Era 2 is not quite as good as like fantasy Western, yeah, I don't know. I can't really understand it. I'm curious to start it though. Then, also on the 15th, Have I Told You This Already by Lauren Graham. So this is Lorelai Gilmore from the Gilmore Girls. I'm trying to remember, did I read or listen to Talking as Fast as I Can by her? I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't really care about Hollywood and stuff, but she, I don't know, she has a way of entertaining when she was telling her story there, so I want to check this one out. I feel like her and Mindy Kaling's books, who I don't even, like, I watched The Office through once. Not like a super huge Office fan, never really watched anything else with her in it, but I thoroughly enjoyed her books because she just wrote them in such a funny way. So I feel the same way about this one. Then the last one for the 15th is The Blackout Book Club. So this is a Christian historical fiction set, I'm assuming during World War II, by Amy Lynn Green. I have at least one, I feel like 2 of her books on my TBR shelf. I haven't read them yet, but it's a book club, so I want to read that. And then the 29th, I did not even know this book was coming out, All the Broken Places. This is the second book in the Boy in the Striped Pajamas series. Yeah, I didn't realize they were going to turn this into a series. Obviously, maybe just because the Boy in the Striped Pajamas did so well, he felt like he had to, or maybe it's a money grab, I don't know. But that book broke me, so I'm definitely going to try the second one. Okay, and then December, I only have one book, which is really good because I'm hoping to do a lot of rereading in December, not a lot of new books. So on the 27th, the book that's coming out is called The Lipstick Bureau, and it's a historical fiction inspired by true events set in World War II, and I mean, it had the word spy in it, so I'm a sucker for that word too. I need spies and books, bookstores, bookshop, book club, buzzwords, cults, all sorts of buzzwords for me. So yeah, I'm sure I missed some books, but let me know what you're excited about that's releasing in the next few months, whether it's something that I mentioned or something that I missed. Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for being here, guys.